Let's move on to main topic number 2. And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Ed H. And Ed H writes, "Hey, John. I read in The Hollywood Reporter that Zack Snyder's Justice League miniseries, I guess we're calling it that now, is going, well, it is. It's a miniseries. It's a limited series, is going to have some more physical shoots. Didn't they say specifically when the Snyder Cut was announced for HBO that they didn't need any more shooting and only needed some audio stuff? Actually, yes, that's correct. They did. Weren't they selling that the movie was practically done already and just needed some VFX work? Exactly how unfinished is this thing?" All right. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, I mean, so for those of you who missed it, an announcement kind of hidden away in a report about something else. The Hollywood Reporter kind of dropped that Warner Brothers is planning, or HBO, I guess we should say to be specific, is planning on going back and doing some reshoots and additional photography for all that kind of stuff. Now that, on one hand, can be kind of exciting. On the other hand, it can make some people scratch their heads a little bit because, well, wait a minute, we were told for so long. Well, first of all, everybody was insisting that the Snyder Cut movie was already done and it was already finished. I swear, you would not believe, like, since 2017.
Oh, I know.
Since 2007, I kept trying to tell people it's not finished. It is not ready to be released. And how much shit I took from people about, yes, it is. It's done. It's completely done. Zack Snyder said it's done.
These are all people who have never actually made a movie. Yeah,
people who have never actually made a movie to understand that. But, you know, one of the things that I said, like I remember the very first time I talked about the Snyder Cut, 2017, the very first time the issue came up. And one of the things we talked about on it was that Snyder has a cut. He actually screened his cut, but it was unfinished. But he screened his cut for the WB executives. And so what we have all been under the assumption of since they announced the Snyder Cut, and what the Vanity Fair report specifically said when they announced that HBO was picking up the Snyder Cut, what they specifically said to Vanity Fair was, yeah, we just got to finish the post-production on it. Like, Zack had shot everything he was going to shoot. This is Zack's original movie that Zack had originally shot. This is what we're getting. And the only thing we have left to do, they told Vanity Fair, was we're going to have to bring some of the actors back in to do some sound booth recording, just to record some dialogue, which you have to do all the time. I can recall several times you've had to go in to do additional ADR.
We literally, because we shot Spartacus in a tin can during the rainy season, every single line of dialogue in the entire show had to be ADR'd, which is why I'm really good at those beep, beep, beep cues.
Yeah, there you go. So, I mean, that's a big thing. So a lot of us just all kind of assume that, okay, great, that makes sense that they have to do it. Now they're saying they're doing additional photography. There's two different ways of looking at this, all right? There's two different ways of looking at this. One kind of a critical way, but one kind of optimistic way. Let's cover the critical one first and get that out of the way. So exactly, you asked the question, exactly how unfinished has this thing actually been? Well, apparently it's been more unfinished than even I thought, because like I said, ever since 2017, he had a cut, and we just figured all the photography was done, and they've been selling to us that we're getting what Zack originally shot. That's what the Zack Snyder Cut was going to be of Justice League, what Zack originally shot. But now we're finding out that he didn't finish everything, that he didn't shoot everything, I should say, and that there is more stuff to shoot and all that kind of stuff. It's okay, that's one way of looking at it. I get that, because that's a fair observation. It's a fair observation. Let's look at it a little bit more optimistically, though. Let's look at this from a positive point of view, though. Number one, like most filmmakers, I think what you would find is, like most filmmakers, what you get now, what is totally standard for all big blockbusters now, it used to be back in the day, a whole bunch of years ago, that when you heard that a movie was going to do reshoots, there's something really wrong with the movie if they're doing reshoots. That's the way it used to be way back in the day. But today, in the last 5 years or more, Kevin Feige talks about this. Every big major movie now plans in advance for reshoots. It used to be you only did reshoots, which cost more money, which put you over budget if something was terribly wrong with the film. But today, big blockbusters, they schedule their movie, and even before they start shooting, they schedule time for reshoots later on so they can go back and, as they're editing the film and they feel like, ooh, we've got some better ideas now. Let's make this even better. You do that. Understanding that, and that Justice League is one of those big tentpole blockbusters. Its box office results may not suggest that, but it is. It's one of the big blockbuster tentpole types of films. Had Zack Snyder not been removed from or left, whichever side of the story you want to believe, Justice League, at some point, Zack Snyder would have been given an opportunity before the release of the movie to go out and do some pickup shooting and to do some reshoots, just like every single other big major movie gets. So while it is a bit confusing that they kept proclaiming, oh no, it's done, it just needs the post effects work, that's all that's done. All we need to do is get some audio ADR done, and now they're doing reshoots. I get that. But under any normal circumstance, Zack Snyder would have been given an opportunity as the director of a bigger tentpole film to go back in and do some reshoots. So really, when you think about it, him now getting that opportunity is not out of the ballpark. I mean, that's not out of the ordinary. That's just kind of simple and standard. There's another optimistic way of looking at this, and that is this. Over the years, Zack Snyder has sat with this concept of what Justice League was going to look like, but he's had a couple of years now to maybe change some ideas or maybe even come up with some better ideas. Hopefully not worse ones, but possibly better ideas. And coming up with better ideas, like, oh, you know what I was always going to do this in that scene, but 8 months ago I came up with an idea that would work even better in that scene. He's now going to get an opportunity to maybe get in a Henry Cavill to do that one scene a little bit differently that to him will make the scene work better. If that's the case, then the ultimate end product for you and I who are going to watch this thing in its mini-series form is going to be a better product in the end. So yes, it is once again more signs that this movie was more unfinished than maybe we had even anticipated. But at the same time, it's not a big deal. Every tentpole film gets a chance to do reshoots. There's no real reason why this version of Justice League shouldn't also be given that opportunity. And it may actually work out for the better because maybe he's had some better ideas. Maybe he's improved upon some of his own concepts that he wants to try. It doesn't always work out, but at least he got that opportunity to do it. So, yeah, I agree. I'm with you. When I saw that they even have to do more shooting, my eyebrow raised, sure, just like everybody. But if you think about it, it's actually pretty reasonable. So I actually don't think this is much of a story. I think this is pretty reasonable. Anyway, Aaron, you've been involved in a lot of these things. I know you and I have talked about, sorry, I got to be out of town next week. I got to go do this ADR or whatever reshoot. I don't know. But you see this, and having had your eye on this whole situation, how do you interpret this situation?
Okay, get ready because I have a lot of things to say about this.
Okay.
So first of all, I called this months ago, and I'm not trying to be that asshole that's like, I said it, and but I have to say, as soon as we were talking about it months ago about oh, it's totally finished. And yes, I agreed that it was not finished to the point where they had done color correcting and sound editing and sound mixing and all those other kind of things. But I also said there is zero possibility. There is no chance that they will not go in and reshoot or do any sort of additional photography.
You did. You did.
I said that is an impossibility. They're 100% going to go back and do it. And there's several reasons for that. Number one, and now that we're calling it a mini series, I did not realize that it was going to be broken up into 4 episodes.
Right.
Okay. That right there changes the entire thing because number one, the way that we watch episodes is different from the way that we watch a movie. And so, yes, the Snyder Cut was originally 5 hours, I think. 4 hours. And so they're now breaking it up. Well, even though it's one long 4-hour narrative, you can't just have the middle of a scene. That would be like if all of a sudden, okay, the episode's over.
Mid-sentence.
Right. You wouldn't just end the episode with the end of a scene. You would actually, within each of those 4 episodes, you're going to have the story that has its traditional story arc, or it's going to have some cliffhanger, but they're not just going to stop an episode mid-scene or like at the end of a scene that doesn't have a reason for the audience to continue watching. So that right there, they're going to have to create a little bit of a story arc within each of those 4 segments. That's number 1. And number 2, Zack Snyder, if you're watching, you're a fucking genius. I don't know why I muted mother on myself instead of the other one, but here's why. There's no way that Warner Brothers would have been like, yeah, let's get some enthusiasm over this Snyder Cut if they thought they were going to have to pour millions more dollars into doing all these additional reshoots. So sure, the company line, as far as not Warner Brothers, but this from the Snyder crew was, oh my God, it's basically finished. And then all of a sudden, the Snyder fans were like, Snyder Cut, because they gave the impression that the movie was essentially done. So by that point, when Warner Brothers then sees that there's this fever pitch, this excitement over the Snyder Cut, well, now we're willing to put some money into it because we see how bad people want it. But if they had an initial meeting with Zack Snyder and he goes, so yeah, I mean, I have most of it, but in order to really make it what I want, I'm going to need at least 30 to 40 million dollars more. They would have been like, no way.
Probably going to be more like 60 to 80 at this
point.
point. Yeah.
Well, at this point, though, because they know that the fans want it and because people are excited about it and because it has been this huge movement. I mean, I saw a bumper sticker with Release the Snyder Cut, a bumper sticker. Like, it has become a movement. And so Warner Brothers would be crazy not to pump money into doing additional photography and reshoots. So, it's a great marketing ploy, if that's even what it was to essentially be like, oh yeah, totally finished, ready to go. You guys should really want this. Get everybody excited about it. And then Warner Brothers is just going to throw cash at the idea. But yes, and you're right when you say that reshoots used to be a bad thing, but now they're a good thing. I remember I did a pilot, and before the pickups were announced, I found out that I had to fly back to New York to do additional shooting, and we were all like, "Oh, that's great. That's great. That means that what they've seen, they really like, and they want to put more money into it." You don't put more money into doing additional photography or reshoots if you don't like what you have.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
You go, you know what? We have something really good here. We just need to fine tune a little bit of this. And another thing about this additional photography, 3 years is a long time with the way that technology and the world is rapidly moving and changing
exponentially.
I mean, we didn't have TikTok. Now maybe Superman will be doing a TikTok. I'm kidding. But
we almost don't have TikTok again now. But anyway,
very true. But that's the thing, is that even just in 3 years, I have no doubt that there were references that seem dated now, even only 3 years later. Certain things, we watch a movie that came out even, less than 10 years ago, and we go, oh, wow, that wouldn't play these days. And so I have a feeling that there probably were a few things that they also went, you know what, we can update that part a little bit from what we did 3 years ago that was really relevant then. So I think it's fantastic. I'm even more excited to see it. It'll be really great to see what was added in. And I know that the Cyclops story. Wait,
you saw Cyborg?
Cyborg, thank you. I keep wanting to say Cyclops. The Cyborg story is supposed to be more fleshed out. I know Ray Fisher is supposed to come in and do some additional photography as well.
That's another set of drama, whether that happens or not.
Yes, very true. But I'm excited to see. I know that was something that Zack Snyder was really passionate about. And so that'll be exciting to see how much of Cyborg is in Zack Snyder's reimagining of it as well.
By the way, I'll show you. I showed Rob last night. I got an email from somebody inside the situation with Justice League.
Oh.
And I shared it with Rob yesterday because I'm still delivering. I'll show it to you after we're done.
Okay.
Someone connected to it. But anyway. But the other thing is this. Right now, we don't know. Like this could be like one week of shoots. I mean, traditionally, sometimes they'll have like 5 weeks of reshooting planned, and maybe it is 5 weeks, but we don't even know what the extent of it is yet. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes. So ultimately, yeah, is it a little bit of an eyebrow raiser? Sure. But at the end of the day, like I said, if this had been under normal circumstances, he would have been given the opportunity to do reshoots anyway. So I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. So anyway, guys, what do you think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.